Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be my March TBR. It's Sunday, so it's pajama day, and it's kind of a blizzard outside, so I just wanted to be cozy, seeing as how it's freezing in my house. I had planned for the month of March to read the Canada Read shortlisted books, as well as, if possible, a couple of the long-listed. For all who are unfamiliar, the Canada Reads project was started back in 2002, and basically what it does is it takes roughly 5 books and it kind of hits them against each other on the CBC radio here in Canada. So what happens is they take 5 personalities, whether it be actors, singers, poets, writers, whoever, and they have them compete their books against each other. So each personality has a book that they have to defend against the 4 other competing titles. So this year, the 5 books are, and I have to consult my notes because I'm horrible with remembering these things. I wish I had a better memory, but I don't. So the first book is The Break by Katharina Vermette. This one is published by House of Anansi Press. And this book takes place in Winnipeg. It's centered around the North End, around a Métis family. The beginning of the book starts with a crime, and so the book then goes on to talk about the interconnecting lives of families, how community pulls together, how women are almost vetted against each other and the men in their lives. So this kind of is a social commentary on Métis in the North End of Winnipeg. If you've ever been to Winnipeg, there is a high population of Métis people at that end of town, kind of become a reserve in a city. So this book, I think, handles those situations and those topics. I'm really interested in reading this. I was born in Winnipeg. I lived there for many years. So I'm very familiar with this area and am just so excited to read this. My family is Métis, so I do have a connection there with that, and I'm really interested in exploring it. The next book is 15 Dogs by Andre Alexis, and this book is published by Coach House Books. This book is actually pretty well known within Canada anyway, and it was the Scotia Bank Giller Prize winner of 2015, I believe. This is a book that I had previously picked up for my writers, my reading group. Right that specific month is when my husband had his accident, and so I never did finish the book. I only got a couple chapters in. I just put it down and never did pick it back up again, which is unfortunate because it is the first few chapters I did read. It was actually a really interesting book. The premises of this book is 2 gods, Hermes and Apollo, make a bet against each other that giving animals the consciousness of men would cause all kinds of problems, that it's our consciousness that rules us. So they give these consciousness to the dogs, these 15 dogs that are in I believe it's a pound. The dogs know they're dogs, but they also think they're kind of people. So they go out, and it's how they survive in this world and how they go about finding themselves in communities and where they live, and just living this life of having a human conscience but still being an animal. I wish I had gotten further into it, so I'm really excited to pick that one back up again. The next book that I have is Nostalgia by MJ Basanji, and I'm actually about 4 chapters into this book. It's a very interesting premises. It's all about, it's set in the future where people have learned to almost gain immortality, and as you age, required to remove memories. They call you generation, I believe is what they're called. So what they do is they essentially go in, and every so often along your lifespan, your memories are wiped and you're implanted with new memories. So you have this group of people who have aged and lost memories and been given new ones, but you also have the society of the people who are born new to that generation, and they're like baby generation, so they are never had their memories removed. They are the youngest in society. They were born in the current time. So this story is all about the condition known as nostalgia, where is also known as leaked memory syndrome, where your memories that have been wiped start leaking into your current life, and how that can play out, how you're not supposed to have these lives come back to you. You're supposed to always maintain your current life and have nothing residual from your past lives come trickling in. Really enjoying the book so far, and I can't wait to get further into it and see how this all plays out. It's quite fascinating. The only thing about this book so far that I've noticed is there's no quotation marks. So every time there's a sentence being spoken from one person to another, it's just a dash. So the next book that is up on Canada Reads is Company Town by Madeline Ashby. This one is published by Tom Doherty Associates. This is by, I've never heard of this particular author, but this is set in a future where the towns are on oil rigs. And so the main character is a girl named Hua, she's without bioengineered genetic enhancements. So she is a bodyguard and is tasked with protecting the 15-year-old heir to this particular town. Being as someone who's been living on the fringes of poverty on this oil rig town, it's a chance she gladly jumps at. So that's really all I know about this book. I first became interested actually in the Canada Reads for this year because of this book. I found this on my library, e-reader library, and I had put in a wait for it, but I ended up picking up the book because it was on sale. Chapters Indigo has all their books for Canada Reads on sale, so when I was shopping the other day, I managed to pick up a couple of the books. The next book on my list is The Right to Be Cold, One Woman's Story of Protecting Her Culture by Sheila Walt Cloutier, and this is published by Alan Lane. I never heard of that publisher. So this book is about an Inuit woman who lives up in Quebec near the Arctic, being raised by a single parent and her grandmother, and how her culture and the environment are impacting each other, and her fight to keep these in our current culture. So I again don't know too much more beyond that. It has gotten good reviews. I'm really interested to read about it. I'm not strong in reading memoirs and stuff like these types of stories. I'm new to them. So I'm pretty intrigued to read this one. And like I said, it's gotten good reviews. So those are the 5 books that are for the Canada Reads. There are 2 that I'm interested in reading. So the 2 that I'm interested in reading that were long listed is Even This Page is White by Vivek Shreya. This is, I believe, essays and poems about growing up as a person of color in Canada, and it has gotten amazing reviews. So I'm highly interested in reading this, just coming off of reading Between the World and Me. So I would really like to read this one. And the other book is Today I Learned It Was You by Edward Reich. This one is set in St. John's in Newfoundland, and it's all about a man who is being reported to transitioning into a deer and his escapades in St. John's. I don't know, again, too much more about it, but that premises alone had my eye caught, and I'm very interested in reading this. I don't read too many books set in Newfoundland. This entire book sounds tongue-in-cheek, and I'm really interested in this type of satire. The next book that I'm going to be reading for the month of March is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This one it comes across as a retelling of Beauty and the Beast with a bit more magic in it. Every 10 years, the dragon comes down from his castle. He picks a girl from a village who is required to go and live with him for 10 years in his castle in the tower. Once they're released, the women don't end up coming back to their villages. They leave and go to the capital of their country. On this particular story, this girl doesn't think that she would be chosen. She thought her friend would be, and she ends up being chosen. So this is the story of this girl being chosen to be the captive girl for the dragon for the next 10 years. The next book that I just finished for March is The Wife, the Maid, and the Mistress by Ariel Lawhon. And this is a book that is based on a true story about a judge in the 1930 jazz era of New York Judge Joe Crater, who I believe it was 4 months after his appointment to the judge's bench, went missing. And he's never been found. At the time, it was a huge scandal. And so this story is told from different perspectives. There are 3 women that surround his life, the life of Joe Crater, and that's his wife, Stella Crater, the maid, Maria, and the mistress, who is also a showgirl, Ritzy. So this is told from all their different perspectives, as well as perspectives of, I believe, another couple characters. And this pulls in a lot of real facts from that time era and that story. The last book that I'm going to do for this month, Cravings by Chrissy Teigen. I collect cookbooks. It's one of the few books that I refuse to buy in ebook format, mainly because I just love cookbooks. But I have a backlog of cookbooks that I have not gone through. So I am going to try and pick a book a month. We'll see if this works or not, but I'm going to try and pick a book a month and cook from it, because sometimes cookbooks are hit and miss. This book is beautiful. Like, it's got gorgeous pictures, wonderful little stories at the beginning of each one where they come from. I don't know how these recipes turn out. I didn't read any reviews on how things. Isn't this gorgeous? Oh, I'm so hungry just looking at this. This is just absolutely stunning. Potatoes, always. Sausage, meatloaf. I absolutely love cookbooks. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and go through one of my cookbooks a month, maybe every 2 months, cook what's in it, and review the recipes and the stylings. Like I said, I do cook for a living. So most of my cookbooks don't have recipes that are beyond me. The problem that I'm probably going to run into is ingredients. Living in a small town in Newfoundland, ingredients are very hard to come by, especially on the side of the island that I live on. I don't live near St. John's, so our range of ethnic foods is very limited. But I am going to try to do the best that I can and pick recipes that would probably be easier to make for most people, the regular people with just, regular cooking skills. So I'm going to start with this one, see how it goes. That is it for the month of March. I'm going to try and work through all of these books. I do have a couple books reserved on my online library that may become available during this month. Hopefully I can read those as well if I have the time, because I think they're going to be coming available shortly in the next little bit. So if they do, they will be on my March wrap-up. Until my next video, I will see you all later. Happy reading!